What's good? What's good? What's good? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro. It's tapping in for an emergency check-in. I blew this back. We're doing it tonight. A bunch of stuff is happening. As you can see, what we got up on the screen. The top 3 bank failures, and I ain't even got to look at the third one. I don't care. We're gonna look at the top 2. Top 2 bank failures. First was Washington Mutual, which is funny because back in the day, I had a Washington Mutual credit card. It was one of my first credit cards. But yeah, they failed in 2008. The next one is the one that just failed, Silicon Valley Bank, 2023. And this is wild, my friends. There is some wild action going on here, and it's affecting everybody. And per the title, we're going to dive into, is your money safe? Which is a good question. As I've stated, I do not trust these banks. I do not utilize them more than to meet my personal benefits and needs. And looking, sure enough, after we did that video, look what happens. The house of cards comes crumbling down, because the reality of things is our money that we believe is in the bank isn't even in the bank. So we're going to do something interesting here. We're going to look up something called fractional reserve banking. If you're not familiar with fractional reserve banking, we're going to go and look at the guidelines. So actually, let's not even look at the guidelines. Let's just read the initial off of this, because then I want to look at what the rules are. First things first, fractional reserve banking refers to the policy that requires banks to keep a portion of their deposits. We're going to stop right there. Portion. I'm highlighting it for you. Portion. Which means that if you put your money in the bank, all of your money isn't actually in the bank. You are allowing the bank to give you little to no interest, and then they can take that money, they can loan it out, and they can invest it to make as much money as they possibly can. So that's the first thing. Your money's not really there. Let that sink in. Your money isn't really there. If you don't believe that, go try to, at some banks, you run into issues if you're trying to pull out over $10,000 in cash. Because banks literally don't have cash like that. Like, there's back in the day where you watch the old westerns where they busted into the bank and stole all the gold bars and all the dollar bills, and they were just sitting in the bank. That is not real anymore. Like, you can have some banks where you could show up and be like, I need $10,000 in cash right now. And, like, you're going to be waiting because they're not going to have it. Because it's not there, because they only have to keep a portion of it, their deposits, in reserve, rather than loan them all out. The policy is stipulated by the Federal Reserve as part of an overall role in implementing monetary policy. Okay, so let's go and look at the next thing. Fractional reserve banking guidelines. Hold on. So we're looking. Regulation D amendments or the amount. Requirements depository. Let's see what we got. Because looks like they released a new one. The effective date is January 23rd. So, it's action on March. So they got this other part highlighted, but I want you guys to see what they did back in March of 2020. This is even better and even more concerning. The annual indexation of these amounts is required, notwithstanding the board's actions in March 2020 of setting all reserve requirement ratios to 0. I'm going to read that again. Let's see here. Because they're amending something that they did 3 years ago. And I want you to understand that this isn't an accident. So the board is amending Regulation D, reserve requirements of depository institutions, to reflect an annual indexing of the reserve requirements exemption amount and the low reserve tranche for 2023. The annual indexation of the amounts is required now, notwithstanding the board's action in March 2020 of setting all reserve requirement ratios to zero. In March of 2020, during the pandemic, when everybody was losing their stuff, the banks got to loan out all of your money. All of it. Which means that, like, you put your money in the bank and technically it's not there. Every dollar that you put in there where they were giving you 0.1% dirt, they give you nothing. They were giving you $0 to hold your money in the bank. And they're then able to loan out all of it. So then when you have an SVB go under, and then now we're talking about the Credit Suisse going under, they're talking about all these banks. Like, this is a house of cards that they've set up to collapse. Which brings me back to the crux of the matter. There's an we're gonna look up another thing, because I mean, since we're on a knowledge journey here, like, let's go ahead. So, like, they don't have to have any money in the bank, but let's look up FDIC insurance, because a lot of people are looking that up right now. I'm gonna look it up with you and for you. Deposit insurance, FDIC. This is what happens when you make sure that your money, they want you to keep money in the banks, and they're gonna go in here and insure. So the standard insurance amount is $250,000 per depositor per insured bank. Now, I know in person some very wealthy people. I also know that some of those people might stop through this channel. I also know that they're not sitting on over $250,000 in their bank account. But for some of you who might find me that aren't those people, because, like, I talk to them and they put me on game, and then they look shocked when I tell them that sometimes I give you some of that game for free. But if you have over $250,000 in the bank, you need to not have over $250,000 in the bank, because the FDIC insurance covers up to $250,000 per person, which means that if you have over that, you're set in if that bank collapses, they don't have to, the FDIC comes in, takes that over. They don't have to give you anything back but $250,000, which we're rolling into another point later in the video that this is getting wild, folks. Like, the stuff that's happening right now is insane. Like, we are living history. It is crazy. They're going to write stories, books, memoirs about what's going on right now, because things are going nuts. Now, I would never personally have that much money in the bank unless I was getting ready to do something with it. But when we're looking at these bank deposits, and it seems like they're targeting, most of the banks that are failing right now are being told they're about to fail, are banks that are crypto friendly, which is also pretty interesting and telling. Like, the ones that are doing transactions, the ones that are holding reserves for their cryptocurrencies that are backed for the stable coins. It's very interesting that some of these banks are failing. Some of the banks on the list that were failed, and, you know, you can do your research if you want to dive super down that rabbit hole, but, like, obviously this is not a crypto specific playlist. It's just part of it. It's future financial strategies, and crypto's the future. But, you know, I haven't dove down that yet. I'm going to in my next portfolio update. But this bank collapse has actually affected the cryptocurrency, not because the cryptocurrency is volatile, it's because the banks are volatile. Which, this is supposed to be the last thing that's volatile. Like, if your dollars aren't safe, then Like, what are we even doing here? Like, this kind of doesn't work if the base premise of your financial system and what you're saying that we shouldn't be moving away from is actively breaking of its own volition. That is wild. But that's a conversation that they don't want to have. They're not ready for. But I'm ready for it. So we're going to keep rolling down this road. So you do not want to have in your bank account over $250,000. Now, this references back to my bank account. Obviously, Citibank, not affected by this. It's one of the largest. Well, that's the other thing. SVB was the 12th largest bank in the nation. The 12th. I mean, obviously, that's pretty low down on the list, but it was the 12th, which is crazy also. Like, this is wild. So, as we're looking at this, like, obviously they aren't fully disclosing the moves that are being made, but there's some assumptions. And what I'm seeing and noticing is all the banks that are currently going through turmoil and potentially failing or are failing are all crypto-friendly banks. They're crypto-friendly banks that had a bunch of VC money. And now we're sitting here in this position to where it's like instability. It was a great week for crypto, though. Crypto portfolio was banging. Obviously, crypto is now dropping. Your boy's getting ready to buy again because that's when I invest, is when stuff is looking bad. And by looking bad, I mean I'm not over 40% in gains for the year. I'm back down to like 35. Fine about it, because that's buy range. For most of the stuff that I want to buy, I'm going to get some more money in the market. That's just going to be what it is. But, big but, when we're looking at how this is going to work out, it's a question of what's your intent with the bank. So, like, for me, as I was saying, this rolls back to Citibank, which was not affected by this, thankfully. Haven't gotten any weird calls, emails, or letters from them, which is good news. But when we talk about the infrastructure and your financial foundation, like I said, if you're not involved in establishing a private banking relationship, like, I see this as no point. The trick is I'm keeping the bare minimum in those accounts. My checking and my savings account are going to be bare minimum accounts. Most of my ability to get towards these metrics, to get into this private banking relationship, are going to be in the market, because brokerages are not crashing, banks are. If you have money sitting around, that means they're playing with your money. Me personally, I'm going to build my account up with me playing with my money. I'm not letting them do that. Like, I'm good. I don't need them to handle that. I want most of my money working in the market for me. I do not want to be sitting here dealing with this level of, like, they can't even play the game that they've rigged for themselves right. Like, they're going through and eating each other. Which brings me to my next deal, which is this. The Silicon Valley bank rescue just changed capitalism. I thought that capitalism was changed as soon as they bailed out the banks in 2008. Because, like, now we're just rewarding bad behavior, but, like, in this case, they secured the bank. They did not allow this bank to fail. The government just stepped in and guaranteed all of the depositors their money. Like, I don't understand. Like, if we're intervening, and, like, I understand from the government's perspective, they're like, oh, the economy, oh, we got to keep it from collapsing. But it's like, you're making bad decisions, and you're allowing people to make bad decisions that are running everybody out of money. Because SVB specifically, they screwed up the way that they were doing this. And now we all get to pay for it, because they're going to give them money. And that money has to come from somewhere, which is going to be the middle class and the poor. All the people, it's coming out of our paychecks. Like, we're all chipping in on this. And just like in 2008, we're getting nothing out of this. Nothing. Nothing. So they're again extracting wealth from working class people. And this is the reason that I'm like I'm trying to get out of this class system. I want to be out of this tax bracket because this is the type of stuff where they just consistently they're hitting you. What happened? They bought up all the houses. They like institutions bought up all the houses. So now you can't even go buy a starter house. Then you get to pay out of your paycheck via your taxes into paying these assholes back. Like they're not saving working class people. They are saving rich people. We're literally they're getting additional stimulus in the sense that like they get to be made whole. And I understand because honestly, they are more important than your working class average Joe. Totally with that. That doesn't mean that I have to like being the working class average Joe that's paying for it. That to me is something that I don't like, which is why I tell people, A, this system, burn it. Burn it all to the ground. Like, this needs to be retconned. Like, we need to start it over. It's not functioning in the way that it was intended. It is 100% corrupt. The stock market is set up against everybody because not everybody gets to take part in every action within the stock market. It's a rigged game that's rigged to keep you poor and paying taxes. Plain and simple. And they're bridging this gap because the house of cards is falling, and you're going to keep seeing things like this where they're going to take money from you and me and us, however you want to break that team dynamic down, until we're off this team and giving it to them. And the only solution for this is to not be in this system or to be on the other side of the line if you are going to function in this system. Which is why we are talking about future financial strategies. This is one of the other reasons that I am so big on Bitcoin, because that is actually your money. Like the fact that they don't have to keep your money in the bank even, which means that like if you needed all your cash and you had $40,000 in the bank, you couldn't get it. That they have to give it to you. You got to sign paperwork. They can give you the runaround. You got to talk to the bank manager. Is it your money? Is it? That reminds me of like when I was 10 and I had an allowance. But like instead of like giving me all the money, my mom would like ration it out per day. And like if I had to get more of the money, I had to go ask her, and then it was at her discretion whether she had cash in her pocket to give me the money. And like if she didn't, she'd be like, we ain't on that time today. Like it's not happening. You don't need it. Another thing your bank can tell you, they cannot give you your money. For those of you who follow the ongoings in any of these YouTube streets, they can turn your bank account off. Remember Kanye? Remember Andrew Tate? Yeah, they can literally just be like, cool, like we're just going to turn your bank account off. You need to come get your money and get it up out of here. In that case, you can get all your money. But like they can freeze your accounts, in which case you can't get all your money till you go have a conversation and get a firm talking to by whoever's over there that's holding your money. So the money in the bank isn't necessarily yours because they're holding it. That is not the case with Bitcoin should you do it correctly and self-custody. It's yours. These systems are collapsing. They're both collapsing, and they're also showing who they're here to benefit and their lack of usefulness for the average everyday person who's not aspiring to get to a certain level, because until a certain level, and you know, as I said, we're tracking my ascent to that level. If you're not there, it's not worth it. Like it's just like if you're not aspiring to get to that point, then you got to figure something else out. And like for me, the only thing that I've figured out since that point, since I realized the way that this works, is Bitcoin. It's the only thing that I figured out where I'm like, if you were going to be in a situation where you have control of an asset that no one can take from you, that's 100% yours, it's either Bitcoin, which is actually going up in price, or if you're just trying to retain value, gold and silver. Because like Neither one of those are performing near as well, period. But like if you're just trying to stay in place, gold and silver can work too if you're going to bury it in your backyard. But like if everything goes bedlam, you're not getting out of the country with it because it's bulky. You're not gonna haul $100,000. You're not gonna haul $20,000 worth of gold and silver anywhere. You're not getting anywhere with it. You're not gonna drive it over a border in the situation where you're escaping the country. They will rob you. You're not getting it on a plane. It's heavy. Like it's inconvenient. Bitcoin is literally everywhere. It's a thumb drive. It's a computer. It can just go. You can just go. And if they take your thumb drive, you can just get another one. Get a Ledger. Shout outs to Ledger. You can just get another one and go get one where you land at. And as long as you have your seed phrase, you're good to go. Like, there's so much going on, and it's one of those things where you have to move intentionally. Like, you obviously, I don't think the average person has over six figures in the bank. Definitely not over $250,000. Hopefully, like that would be insane unless you're getting ready to make an investment and it's hitting your account and going somewhere else. But these are the types of things that people need to pay attention to. Everybody wants to argue about what whoever's wearing. I mean, we've been talking about who's wearing what, missing women, all this stuff, and they're literally taking all the money out from underneath your feet and making it so that you're never going to be able to buy a house. like you can't be a hero if you're poor. That's all I'm saying. Like, you're going to be very limited in your movement. You're going to be limited in your options. And the way that this system is being set up, they are going to continually beat and punish you into submission. Because people are not making the appropriate moves and they're worried about literally everything else that's not important. While your wealth, your opportunities to make wealth, your livelihood, your stability, your job. The Fed just said they want, what is it, like 2.5 million of y'all out of jobs. They want 2.5 million of you fired and jobless, so that they can get inflation under control because they're sick of you buying stuff. You're not even investing. You're just out there just buying stuff frivolously. Their numbers are jacked up, so now they don't even want you working. What are y'all going to do? What's the game plan then? Especially considering most people don't have access to $100 cash in case of emergency, $1,000 cash in case of emergency. A bunch of you are about to lose your jobs. What's the next play? Where are we going next? These are things that you have to be prepared for. But no, everybody's out here online. Everybody wants to be arguing. Everybody wants to be on a panel cussing each other out. Everybody wants to be over on shout outs to Team Fatty. Everybody wants to be over on Team Fatty's channel trying to figure out if men and women are going to be friends. And like, I understand Fatty's in Portugal, so he has the ability, because like that government at least gives a shit about their people, to have that conversation. But do you? If the 2.5 million Americans that are getting ready to lose their jobs, do you have that freedom? Do you have that ability? Do you have $100? Do you have $1,000? I mean, you're probably going to need a few months of salary to get through that storm. Probably at minimum 6. Because no one's going to be hiring you. You're going to get fired from your job, and no one's going to be hiring because they're disincentivizing hiring. So now you're sitting at home with no money. Now what? Until the Fed decides those numbers are down and they say, hey, we're gonna incentivize hiring again. We're gonna drop some interest rates. The numbers work. This system doesn't care about any of you. And I understand, like, people want to talk about welfare. They don't care. They don't care. The federal government just said that they want y'all out of these jobs. And you can ask anybody who's on there. It takes a while. Those benefits take a while. They're going to drag their feet. Also, because they don't want money moving. That includes helping you people who are about to lose your jobs, the 2.5 million of you. So you might want to start actually paying attention to stuff that matters, which is your bank account and the things that bring money to that bank account. You might want to start getting a skill. So that way, if your job's taken, you can still do something. See, I don't show up at Walmart. I've got a skill. Like if I got laid off today, I've still got my drill. I still got my crimpers. Like I can still continue working on my own. And there's plenty of that work out there. Now, I also am not worried about getting laid off because my business is booming. These rich people are getting that money. They're getting your money because they're out here competing and they're worried about the things that matter. They're getting the bag first, then trying to fix everything else. While you guys are sitting here without $100 or $1,000, and I mean this obviously, my bag chaser fam that's over here, don't jump in front of bullets that's not for you because we know we getting it. But everybody else, some of y'all, this might be your wake-up call. Like, you need to dial in and at least have a concept or some sort of understanding about what's going on that affects your bank account and some means to increase your position. And that goes across the board because I got conservative friends that are on some tinfoil hat shit that have been complaining and talking about stuff. And now that they see these CBDCs coming down the pipeline, they're talking about, oh, I don't want anything to do with Bitcoin now either. And it's like, you're in the same spot that you was in the last time I saw you. The financial position ain't changed. And then I got all my other friends who are on the more liberal side, worried about what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is wearing, how men and women are getting along. And I can get down on those conversations, but I get my bag handled first. I ain't out here trying to police society. I ain't out here trying to save everybody. I ain't out here trying to protect everybody. I ain't worried about everybody else. The way this world is going, when this stuff collapses, you're going to find out how disingenuous most of those comments are about these people that care. Because they're going to be dead ass at the bottom. And I said it, dead ass at the bottom of what's coming. Because they're already not there. And they're getting ready to get punished for that. That lack of preparedness. And they're not going to be able to worry about anybody but themselves. And you put somebody in a position of desperation, and you're going to see a different side of that person because desperation makes people savages. There ain't going to be no time for protecting anybody at that point. When you hand to mouth, you being a savage, or you getting on a squad, or you going to join the camp over here. So that way we can see, I mean, because we're going to be on a mission over here, so you ain't going to have time to save everybody because we're going to be isolating. Everybody ain't going to make it. Everybody's not built for what's coming. And people aren't positioning themselves for what's coming. So that's where we're going to leave it. I know it was very ranty. Next week's episode, next week's episode, I will have some more updates about what I'm doing with the banking, because it's just sitting there right now. Like, the bank accounts get very slow interest, so it's very boring to look at. The checking account doesn't get anything, and we're just trying to get that savings account to the metric so I can open my brokerage account, so then we can start actually doing some numbers over there. But obviously, we're gonna have a. Actually, it'll be the week after next, because this week's not payday week. Last week was payday week. But this week specifically, we'll have the next payday, which will be after the 23rd. So coming into the 30th, because I will have an episode up for the 30th. I will not have a live on the 30th. I'm going to take that day off. I've got an event that's paid to where people want to look at me in an art gallery because, I'm adorable. It's kind of what it is. So I'll be doing that. I will not be live. That's going to be one day off, which is going to be unfortunate, but I might actually move that to Wednesday and do Wednesday. Oh, that's what we'll do. We'll go live the 29th because I'm going to be off the 29th, or I'll be off the 30th, so I won't have to get up that morning. So that'll work out perfect. That will work out perfect. So we'll do that. And then we're going to have massive updates. That 29th, the episode that's going to be on Wednesday the 29th, which I will schedule that out for that week. I'm going to make that a special, and we're going to have some fun. We might do like a smoke show, or Ray Talks Trash to People show, or Ray Dog Walks Feminist show. I don't know. It'll be fun. We're going to do something fun for that show, though. I think we're going to have, I might name it Romper Room, or the Thunderdome, or the Battle Arena. I like the Battle Arena. That sounds nice. Or the Thunderdome. Thunderdome's awesome. Yeah, we're gonna do something fun that night, but these are things that we need to think about. Like, we need to think about where we're moving our money and what the intent is, because like if you don't have a goal, the goal that they have for you is slavery. And like you're already in some form of it, but it's gonna be worse. It's probably gonna be much worse. And you know, being at the bottom in any system is a very terrible position to be in. We're going to leave it there. Before we head out, ways that you can support the channel. Drop me a comment. Give me your thoughts on my rant today. Like, what are you guys thinking? Do you guys even care? Are you guys following this? Are you worried? Are you preparing? Are you shoring up the holes in your boat? Are you getting your ship together? Because I kind of feel like Noah here. I'm building an ark by myself. I know that it's going to be raining, and the Lord hath told me. And I'm trying to tell everybody else, and everybody's just looking at me like, why is this idiot building a boat? And I'm like, I'm trying to get up out of here until the water comes. But I'm wondering what the temperature is on this, because like obviously this was an American issue, but like if the American financial system collapses, then like that's gonna ripple the planet, everybody. So, yeah. Tap in with me. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I want to know what the temperature is. If you have questions, you can email me at recklessraydenero@gmail.com. Also, open for collaborations. I love talking to people. I got to talk to Tommy. Sotomayor this week a couple of times. I'm about to probably panel up with him tonight, also for a little bit before I go to bed. You know, I see, shout out Beans, I see him over there right now. Like, it's wild. But, you know, always open for collaboration. Questions, comments. Questions I can answer on the show. I do reply to that email. It comes directly to me. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button on the way in, on the way out. You can even dislike. Disliking helps too. I like to know when people hate me. Until next week, family. This is your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero, and I'm out.